The first scream you hear is not from a gunshot. It is from a little girl. Not loud. Not dramatic. A thin, broken sound pressed into the wet concrete of a Busan alley as she clamps her own hand over her mouth, because even now she knows better than to make noise when men like this are nearby. Rain hammers the city. Neon bleeds down glass. Somewhere above, bass thumps from a club that will never know what is buried in the street behind it. In the shadow of a flickering sign, a man in a dark suit kneels in front of a dumpster, knuckles split, breath fogging in the cold. He looks down at his palm as if it has betrayed him. There, stuck to the blood on his skin, is a small crumpled $5 bill. Not Korean one. American. Old soft paper, the ink faded, the edges chewed like someone held it too tight for too long. He stares at it like it is a weapon. Is this what my soul costs? Min Jae-hyun whispers to no one. The Korean Mafia strategist who never loses control. Behind him, sirens begin to wail. Somewhere out there, a woman is either being saved or erased. And across the street, half hidden behind a trash can, a black little girl with rain in her curls and terror in her eyes is realizing the most dangerous truth of her life. The man she just paid to save her mother might be the same man who destroyed her in the first place. Title rolls in your viewer's mind. Black little girl paid a Korean mafia boss $5. The truth about her mom left him shaken. Iris Lee learns early that crying changes nothing. At 9 years old, her world is a third-floor walk-up that smells like bleach and sea air, wedged between a karaoke bar and a tiny church. She is too dark to be just Korean, too Korean to be just black, and too tired to be just a child. Every morning she walks through the same narrow street in Busan, head down, braids frizzing in the humidity, school bag digging into her shoulders. The ajumas at the corner stall soften when they see her mother, Hannah. They harden when they see Iris alone. She hears the comments in 2 languages, whispered across the vegetable displays and behind protective hands. Too loud. Too big. Too much. At school, the children are crueler in the specific way children are when they sense something different. They do not let Iris sit with them at lunch. They do not pick her for games. When she raises her hand to answer a question, they mimic the way her mouth moves, the small accent that bleeds into her Korean from English she learned at home. One girl, Park Min-ji, decides Iris is worthy of organized cruelty. She starts a whisper campaign. Iris smells different. Iris's mom is sick because she is mixed. Iris herself is probably sick. Iris should not touch things people use. Iris stops raising her hand. She eats lunch in the bathroom stall. She touches nothing that is not hers. At home the air is often heavy and still. Hannah's illness steals hours at a time. Some days her legs do not listen. Some days her hands shake too badly to hold a spoon. On those days, Iris is the one who cooks rice, who lifts the pillow higher under her mother's head, who reads the numbers on the pill bottles because the letters blur for Hannah when the pain rises. Lupus. That is the name of the monster that is slowly rewriting her mother's body. Iris learned the word when she was 7. She learned to say it in her head like a curse, like if she could name it she could understand it and therefore control it. She cannot. There is love here, fierce and stubborn. There is also fear. The fear has a name. Uncle Dae-sik. Everyone calls him Uncle. But no one smiles when they say it. He is not actually related to them. He is just what everyone in the building calls the men who collect money and bring bad news wearing friendly faces. He arrives twice a week with plastic bags of groceries that smell like rotting cabbage and cheap alcohol, throws them on the counter like a gift no one asked for, and reminds Hannah of the debt every single time. Madam K is very generous, he says, his voice sliding like oil under a door. She keeps the rent low. She keeps the good doctors talking to you. She keeps your daughter fed. And all she asks is that you remember who owns the air you breathe. He taps the stack of papers on the kitchen table with 2 thick fingers. The words on them are long and slippery, dressed up like help and mercy. Hannah tries to read them, lips moving, eyes flicking over paragraphs that say program and research and interest. Iris watches from the crack in the bedroom door, memorizing every word she can read from a distance. Medical trial, chronic illness research, hospital advancement. The language is clean. The meaning is not. Dae-sik smiles as Hannah struggles. Take your time, he says with mock kindness. The papers are not going anywhere. But they are. They are multiplying. Every month, new contracts arrive. Every month, Hannah's handwriting gets shakier on the signature line. Iris listens from behind thin walls as Dae-sik reminds her mother that international insurance does not care about women like her. That the hospital only listens because Madam K's name is on the file. That mixed kids end up on the street when their mothers die and nobody owns their debt. Then one Tuesday that tastes like every other Tuesday but is not. Dae-sik's hand moves too fast. It snaps across Hannah's cheek with a sound like a branch breaking. Hannah staggers. She does not cry. She touches her face as if she is checking to see if it is still there. And then she nods, small and broken, accepting this as part of the transaction. That is when Iris decides. That is the moment she stops being a child and starts being a strategist. Later, when Dae-sik is gone, she holds her mother while Hannah shakes and whispers apologies to a daughter who did nothing wrong. I chose a man who chose money, Hannah says, her voice hollowed out. You are paying for it. I am so sorry. Iris is 9. But the way she straightens her back in that moment belongs to someone much older. Then we buy it back, she says. Hannah looks at her, confusion and fear mixing in her exhausted eyes. With what, baby? We have nothing. Iris does not answer. But she has already decided. She knows what she has to do. That night, she goes to the small closet where her mother keeps treasures from before this life. A photo of Hannah young and radiant, belly round with pregnancy, holding a sonogram to her chest like it is the most precious thing in the world. A letter in a man's handwriting that Iris has never been brave enough to fully read. And hidden behind a loose board, a single crumpled American $5 bill. Iris's mother never spends it. She calls it luck. She touches it like it is sacred the way other people touch prayer beads. Iris takes it. Min Jae-hyun did not grow up wealthy. He grew up hungry. In a basement room in Seoul with a mother who worked 3 jobs and a father he never knew. He learned early that the world is divided into 2 types of people. Those who take and those who get taken from. He chose to become the first kind. By 20 he had moved into organized crime. By 30 he had moved up. By 40, he had become someone's right hand, specifically, the right hand of a woman named Kwon Si-hee, who had taken one look at his hunger and his intelligence and decided he could be useful. Madam K, they called her. She taught him that violence is loud and temporary. Money, on the other hand, is quiet and permanent. Control someone's debt, she had told him years ago. Over expensive coffee in a high-rise office overlooking Seoul. And you control their soul. Their body just follows. He learned the lesson well. He built her empire by understanding people's weaknesses and turning those weaknesses into contracts. Hospital bills became leverage. Rent became obligation. Love became liability. By the time he was 45, Min Jae-hyun was very good at his job. He was also very alone. The loneliness did not bother him. Or so he told himself. On the night everything begins, he sits alone on an iron bench overlooking Busan's harbor, watching cargo ships slide across the dark water. The harbor is an old friend. It asks nothing. It judges nothing. Simply is. He is waiting for a report from Dae-sik about a small matter. A debtor who is falling behind on her medical obligations. A woman named Hannah Lee. A case among thousands. He does not know it yet, but something is about to shatter the neat compartments of his life. Dae-sik arrives, bows, and hands over a small plastic bag. Inside are delivery receipts, hospital records, financial documents. The woman is behind on payments. Madam K wants to know if she should be pushed harder or let slide. Jae-hyun flips through the papers. Nothing unusual. Then he sees the name on an old medical file. Hannah Lee. The file is years old. It includes a photograph from a pregnancy exam. The woman in the image is radiant, dark-skinned, beautiful in a way that speaks of joy rather than perfection. Her hand rests on her belly. Her smile is unguarded. Jae-hyun's breath stops. No, it cannot be. But it is. He knows that face. He knows that smile. He knows the exact pressure of her hand on his chest when she would fall asleep against him. Back when they were young enough to believe in things like love. Hannah. Dae-sik notices his expression and steps back nervously. Hyungnim? Is there a problem? Jae-hyun closes the folder carefully, as if moving too quickly will shatter the past he just discovered. No problem, he says quietly. You did well. Go. When Dae-sik leaves, Jae-hyun remains on his bench, holding a photograph of a woman he abandoned 15 years ago, now trapped in the very system he helped build. The guilt is immediate and crushing. He should send her away. He should bury this. He should protect himself by compartmentalizing, a skill that has kept him alive this long. Instead, he sits there as the sun dies into the water, holding the file of a woman he loved and then forgot, and wonders if the universe is finally collecting a debt. He does not know that the universe has already sent its collector. Dae-sik makes one fatal mistake. He forgets that children watch, that they listen, that they follow. One wet afternoon, he barks at Iris to carry his bag down the stairs. It is heavier than it looks. Her arms ache. She can feel objects shift inside, small, solid, wrapped in plastic. Things a child should never carry. Things that remind her of the plastic bags he sometimes leaves at the apartment. Things that make her mother's eyes go wide with fear. He grabs the bag at the bottom of the stairwell, grunts a half-hearted thanks, and strides away toward the main street. Iris hesitates for exactly 2 seconds. Then she moves. Through the crowded marketplace, weaving between adults, using her smallness as camouflage. Past the fish stalls and the steaming tteokbokki carts. Past the bus stop where schoolmates pretend not to see her. She stays 3 meters behind him, just close enough to follow, far enough to disappear if he turns. Dae-sik doesn't look back. Men like him never do. The world moves around them, not the other way. He turns into a quieter area near the docks. The city noise fades, replaced by gulls and the constant breath of the sea. Here, under old warehouse lights and rusting signs, people like Dae-sik do their real business. He stops in front of a long, empty bench facing the harbor. On it sits a man in a charcoal suit. Nothing about him is loud. No gold chains, no tattoos screaming for attention. Just a perfect tie, a watch too understated to be cheap, and a posture that says he is used to watching the world move for him. Iris's heart pounds so hard she thinks it will burst out of her ribs. This is him. The one everyone fears. The one even Uncle bows to. Dae-sik bows low. Hyungnim, he says. Jae-hyun SSI. So this is him, Iris thinks from behind a pillar. The man at the top. The one who controls the controller. Min Jae-hyun does not look at Dae-sik when he speaks. His eyes stay on the dark water and the slow crawl of freighters. How much? He asks, his voice quiet. Do you owe Madam K today? His voice is quiet. Controlled. More dangerous than shouting. Iris cannot catch every word that follows, but she understands enough. Money. Deadlines. A reminder that Dae-sik is nothing more than a replaceable piece on a bloody chessboard. When Dae-sik scurries away, face-pale, Jae-hyun remains. Alone on his bench, framed by the gray of sea and sky. A man at rest. A man carrying weight invisible to the eye. It is a small moment. A man resting. To Iris it is a door. Her heart is punching her ribs when she steps out. Her shoes squeak on wet pavement. Rain dots her hair, beads on her lashes. She feels ridiculous and brave and very, very small. Jae-hyun's eyes flick toward her. Just a shift. No surprise. No curiosity. The kind of casual awareness a predator has when something rustles nearby. He studies her in silence. Iris cannot breathe. She looks at him properly for perhaps 30 seconds, takes in the cut of his suit, the careful arranging of his fingers, the slight scar along his jawline, like his body has also survived things it should not have. Her hand is shaking when she reaches into her pocket. She pulls out a small crumpled bill she has been hiding for weeks. Days of stealing from Dae-sik's loose change. Months of denying herself the small snacks other children buy at the market. It is not colorful Korean one. It is a faded green American 5. The last thing her mother kept from a time before this life, before this country, before the weight became too heavy to bear. A relic of when possibility still meant something. Iris has never spent it because Hannah never spent it. She called it luck. She taped it behind a photo on the wall like it was a prayer. Iris stole it this morning. She holds it out now with both hands so he can see it, her fingers trembling but not pulling back. I want to buy my mom's soul back, she says. Jae-hyun should laugh. He should dismiss her with a flick of his hand. He should call someone to take her away. He should ask which rival gang thought this was a clever way to send a message. He does none of these things. Instead, he looks at the bill. Then at her. Rain runs down her face, turning the strands of her hair into wet ropes. Her shoes are too big, scuffed at the toes. There is a bruise half hidden under her sleeve and a stubborn set to her jaw that does not belong on a child. But it is her eyes that stop him. They are familiar. Painfully, impossibly familiar. "What did you say?" he asks quietly. She swallows. "My mom signed papers," she says. "Uncle Day 6 says a lady owns our house, our hospital, our everything." He hits her. "He uses me. Mama says this lady has her soul in a drawer somewhere." Iris lifts the bill higher. "So I want to buy it back." She is serious. Deadly serious. There is no drama in her tone, no attempt to please him. Just a transaction, as straightforward as buying candy in a corner store. Jaehyun has spent his life measuring people by the currency of their fear. Normally it is loud, sweaty, begging. This child's fear is different. Quiet, focused, tight. "Who told you to come to me?" he asks. "Uncle," she replies. "He called you on the phone. Said even the police are scared of you." "I thought." Her lip trembles once, then steadies. "If everyone is scared of you, maybe she is too." Her logic is brutal and perfect. To defeat the monster, she has gone searching for the one bigger than it. He should send her home. He should not engage. He should not feel his pulse stutter when she adds, almost under her breath, a line that cracks something inside him. "Mama says once she loved a man who chose money instead of us. I thought maybe he worked for you." The wind shifts. For a heartbeat, he is no longer on this bench. He is in another cramped apartment years ago in another country. There is music. Laughter. A woman with dark skin and a wider smile than she ever shows now. Hannah. Back then, she was all sharp humor and softness, teaching him English phrases between kisses, teasing his accent, running her fingers through his hair while they lay in bed at dawn. Back then she was pregnant. He remembers the day she told him. How her face glowed with terror and joy. How she held his hand and placed it on her belly and said, "Feel that. That is our daughter. She is already brave. Our daughter. Iris." He had not allowed himself to think the name in 15 years. Back then, Madame K had called and offered him a kingdom. Build the operation overseas. Make it real. Prove yourself. Show me you are not just a pretty problem solver but someone who can think like an emperor. He took the call. He told Hannah he had to go. He told himself it was temporary. He told himself many things that were not true, stacked like contracts in a folder he had long since thrown away. Now one of his lies stands in front of him, damp and furious, holding a $5 bill like a knife. His throat tightens. "What is your name?" he asks. "Iris," she says. "Iris Lee." Lee. Hannah's family name. Of course. He nods once, slowly, as if confirming something to himself rather than to her. Something is breaking in his chest. The neat compartments he built are developing cracks. "Go home, Iris," he says. "This is not a place for you." Her eyes flash. "If I go home," she says, voice rising for the first time, "she will sign more papers. Uncle will hit her again. Maybe she won't wake up next time." She looks at the bill, then at him. "I only have this. It has to be enough." Silence stretches between them. The rain, the harbor, the distant city. All fade under the weight of a decision Min Jae-hyun has avoided his entire life. Finally he reaches out. His hand, the one that has ordered beatings, signed death warrants, squeezed triggers, opens around the paper. It is warm from her skin. He could say many things. He says very little. "Keep your money," he murmurs. "You already paid." She frowns. "I did." He nods. "You walked here." The next day, before the sun burns off the fog from the harbor, Jaehyun moves. His world is not made of fists and shouting. It is made of records, contracts, unmarked office doors in respectable buildings. He starts there. He finds Hannah's name in databases that were never supposed to touch each other. Hospital billing. Rental agreements. Research programs that sound noble but bleed people dry. On every document, in fine print that only someone looking could see, is the same quiet mark. A foundation run by a woman called Kwon Si-in-hee. Madame K. Long ago, she pulled him out of street chaos and taught him that paper is sharper than a knife. "Violence scares," she said. "Dead owns." Now, looking at Hannah's file, He sees the full cruelty of that lesson. He sends a man he trusts to watch the apartment. Not Dae-sik. Someone sharper, quieter. They report back. Dae-sik visits twice a week. He drinks in the living room. He presses Hannah against walls. He makes Iris carry things for him to help. Jae-hyun listens, expressionless. Then he calls Dae-sik in. In the bare room above a noodle shop, he sits at the head of a low table, the walls smelling faintly of broth and damp wood. Dae-sik stands sweating, shifting from foot to foot, unsure if he is in trouble yet. Sit, Jae-hyun says. Dae-sik drops to his knees so fast they thud. There is no shouting. No threats. Just questions. How long have you been managing Hannah Lee's debt? 3 years, Hyungnim. How many contracts has she signed while medicated? Just a few. The interest, it grows. You know how it is. How many times have you used her daughter? Dae-sik hesitates. Jae-hyun's gaze sharpens. Answer. Dae-sik's tongue trips over excuses, then lands on the truth. The words spill out. Deliveries. Favors. Making the girl carry packages so no one would suspect. A slap when Hannah refused. A shove when Iris asked questions. Jae-hyun slides his phone across the table. Say that again, he says. Clearly. By the time Dae-sik realizes he is being recorded, it is too late. He begs. He offers money he does not have. He offers names Jae-hyun already knows. Jae-hyun waves it away. You're not dying today, he says. You're going to live long enough to be useful. Dae-sik does not understand that this is worse. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, high above the rain and the noise, Madam K stands in front of a floor-to-ceiling window, looking down at the grid of streets she owns without ever touching. Her reflection in the glass is flawless. A black Korean woman in a cream suit, hair smooth, lipstick perfect. Beside her, a tablet glows with numbers. One of them is wrong. Why are these accounts moving? She asks her assistant without turning. Just routine adjustments, chairwoman, he stammers. A law firm started renegotiating some debt. The Lee portfolio, among others. She smiles slow and without warmth. Which law firm? He names one she recognizes. One Jae-hyun uses when he wants things to look legitimate. There is a tiny, almost invisible twitch at the corner of her mouth. Not quite annoyance. Not quite amusement. Something in between. She has always known about Hannah. She has always kept detailed files on the woman Jae-hyun loved and left behind. Insurance. A leash he never saw around his own neck. Call Min Jae-hyun, she says. Her fingers brush across the tablet screen and with a few gestures, she pulls up an old file. Security footage from a cheap clinic years ago in another country. The image is grainy but clear enough. A young woman in a hospital gown, dark curls wild around her face, laughing as she holds a sonogram against her stomach. A young Korean man stands beside her, embarrassed but happy, his hand hovering uncertainly, then finally resting on her belly. Hannah. And Jae-hyun. She has always kept this clip. Insurance. Proof that even the most controlled men have breaking points. The phone rings twice before he answers. Chairwoman, he says. Jae-hyun, she replies. Tell me, since when do you do charity work for single mothers named Hannah Lee? They meet that night in a rooftop bar where the glass walls make the rain look like a curtain of silver. The music is low. The staff are trained not to hear anything important. Madam K sits with her back to the view. She doesn't need to look at the city to know she owns it. Jae-hyun sits opposite her, spine straight, expression calm. To anyone watching, they are just two executives discussing quarterly losses. She slides a tablet across the table. On it, Hannah's file glows. Next to it, a paused frame of that old clinic video. Young foolish joy captured and catalogued. Interesting coincidence, she says, that you chose her of all people to rescue from my little web. Do you believe in fate now? He stares at the screen for a heartbeat, then meets her eyes. What do you want? He asks. She laughs softly. Honesty, she says. Finally. I always knew she meant something to you. I wondered when you would prove it. A beat. Now you have. She leans forward, elbows resting lightly on the table. Here is your choice, Jae-hyun. Walk away from the girl. From the woman. From their debts. Pretend you never saw them again. And I will let them live. Under my thumb but breathing. Her voice stays gentle as she adds, "Or you continue this little rescue fantasy. You pull them out. You turn on me. You embarrass me. And then, I erase them. I burn down every record of their existence and treat them like any other problem that annoyed me." She holds his gaze. "Your bloodline for my pride. That is the trade." Outside, lightning threads between buildings. Inside, Jaehyun feels the old version of himself, the one who walked away from Hannah to build this empire. Whisper the easiest answer: obey. Compartmentalize. Survive. But he has seen Iris's eyes. The way she did not flinch when she stepped onto his bench. The way she trusted that $5 could move a monster. He also saw Hannah in that apartment when he visited her briefly earlier that day, before this meeting. When she opened the door and recognized him, fury and grief colliding on her face. When she raised her hand and slapped him, once hard, and then curled against her own ribs like she was containing years of pain. "You don't get to touch her," Hannah had hissed. "Not now. Not after sending the woman who owns my lungs and my rent." He had taken the slap. He had not defended himself. Now, sitting across from the architect of this whole system, he realizes there is only one way to answer the debt he owes. He may not be able to rescue himself, but maybe he can change the ending for them. He picks up the tablet, looks at the frozen image of his younger self, then sets it down. "I built your empire," he says quietly. "I can also take it apart." Madame K's smile fades. "So you choose them," she says. "No question in it." "I choose to stop choosing myself," he replies. She sits back, studying him as if he is a puzzle she misjudged. "Then you better move fast," she says. "Because as of this moment their clock is ticking." This is the night the opening scream happens. Rain. Sirens. A little girl's half-swallowed sound. But now your audience knows why it matters. In the hours after that rooftop meeting, Jaehyun does what he was born to do. He plans. He sends Day-sik to the wolves dressed as a sheepdog, planting him in Madame K's inner circle as a panicked, repentant servant. At the same time, he leaks Day-sik's full confession and the financial trail of exploitation to a small cluster of police officers and prosecutors he has quietly kept clean over the years. Not out of goodness. Out of necessity. You always need one or two honest men in your pocket to convince the world you're respectable. He sends copies of the same evidence to a rival syndicate hungry for a chance to carve a chunk out of Madame K's territory. He is not trying to save the city. He is weaponizing its greed and its conscience at the same time. While all this moves like current under the surface, he personally arranges Hannah and Iris's disappearance. He arrives at their apartment with two women from his organization dressed as social workers, carrying forged papers stamped with government seals. Emergency relocation program, they explain to the building manager, who is too confused and too scared by Jaehyun's quiet presence to argue. Hannah protests, but the sound of sirens growing in the distance and the sight of Iris's white-knuckled grip on that empty space where the $5 bill used to be finally break her resistance. "Why are you doing this?" she demands as she gathers a few clothes, a photo, the worn blanket her daughter still claims on bad nights. He answers with the only honesty he has left. "Because you were right," he says. "I chose money. I am trying for once to choose you. Even if you never forgive me." She stares at him, torn between the desire to spit in his face and the instinct to get her child away from this collapsing world. "Don't do this for me," she says. "Do it so she never has to stand in a street and by a man like you again." He nods. Iris, watching, holds her mother's hand and looks up at him. "Did you keep it?" she asks. "The money." He pats his breast pocket. "It's safe," he says. "Then you can't die tonight," she says with the unshakable logic of a child. "Because I paid." He almost smiles. "I'll see what I can do." What follows is chaos orchestrated like a symphony. Raids crash down on Madame K's warehouses. Police tipped off by anonymous files they cannot ignore. Rivals, smelling blood and financial reports that suddenly expose how much Madame K has been skimming from the organization's core operations. Phones explode with calls. Contracts trigger. People who thought they were safe discover their names on lists in places they should never be. In the middle of all this, at the quiet, wet edge of the harbor, Min Jae-hyun waits. He knows Madame K will come herself. This is not about money anymore. It is about insult. She arrives without fanfare. No convoy. Just a single black car, lights off, sliding through the rain like a shadow. When she steps out, the wind catches her coat. She looks less like a queen now and more like what she truly is. A survivor who built her crown out of other people's bones. You really did it, she says, walking toward him, heels sharp on the wet concrete. You turned the city on me for a woman and a half-Korean child who will grow up hating your name. He does not disagree. You taught me how to do it, he says. Behind her in the murk, shapes move on the warehouse roofs. Police, gangsters, perhaps both. Lines of loyalty blur in nights like this. You understand I cannot let you live, she says. Yes, he answers. But you also understand that if I die without finishing this, your files go everywhere. He nods toward the water, toward the city, toward the blinking red lights of communication towers. Every judge, every journalist, every rival will know your name and how you tied kids to hospital beds with interest rates. She considers this, head tilted. That little girl, she says. You think saving her makes you different from me. He shakes his head. No, he says. I think saving her is the first thing I've done that isn't about me at all. For a heartbeat, there is something like pity in her gaze. Fool, she says. Her hand moves toward her coat. On a rooftop a block away, a man Jaehyun positioned hours earlier squeezes a trigger. The shot is clean. Not cinematic. Not drawn out. Just a crack in the thunder and a sharp red blossom on cream fabric. Madame K staggers, more surprised than afraid. She reaches for something, balance, dignity, the last thread of an empire unraveling. But there is nothing to grab. She falls. Jaehyun does not step forward to catch her. He turns instead, pressing his hand to the wound he has been ignoring in his own side for the last few minutes. At some point tonight in some corridor or stairwell, someone got close enough to stick steel between his ribs. Adrenaline kept him moving. Now, as the sirens swell and footsteps thunder closer, his body remembers that it is just flesh. He looks at his palm. Blood. And stuck to it like it belongs there, the $5 bill. He laughs once, breath-catching. So this is what my soul costs, he murmurs. He folds the bill carefully, tucks it into an inner pocket he knows the paramedics will search if they find him, and makes a decision. He steps backward into the shadows, away from the flashing lights, leaving behind a scene that will be on every news broadcast by morning. Unidentified crime boss disappears. The headlines will say, Mafia queen found dead at Busan harbor. They will write. Police raid organized crime headquarters. They will report. None of them will mention the price he took with him. 6 months later, in a different neighborhood under a sky that feels less heavy, a girl comes home from school to a house that smells of stew, not fear. The walls are new. The locks on the doors are solid. The air is full of small sounds. Her mother humming softly in the kitchen, an upstairs neighbor practicing bad saxophone, a television in another apartment. Normal. Safe. Alive. Hannah moves more easily now. The new doctors, the new medication, the new job at a clinic that values her language skills and resilience. All of it has changed the way she stands. She walks like someone who is no longer carrying the weight of another person's crime. She is not cured. But she is not drowning every day. Iris runs in from school, energy barely contained, backpack sliding off one shoulder. She is different too. There is less fear in her face now, replaced by something sharper. Ambition. Purpose. She has started a small activism group at school for children from mixed families. She talks about debts and justice and how systems are built to break people. Teachers nod at her during class. Some of the kids who used to mock her have started listening. On the small table by the door there is a package. No name on it. Just their address, handwritten in careful script. Iris's heart stops. She calls. Someone sent something. Hannah wipes her hands, joins her in the tiny living room as they peel back the wrapping. Inside, nestled in tissue paper, is a small frame. Under the glass, pressed flat and smoothed as if someone took great care with it, is a $5 bill. American. Old. Soft. The exact bill that Iris handed over on a rain-soaked pier what feels like a lifetime ago. Hannah's hand flies to her mouth. Her knees go weak for a second. The room spins with memory she had tried very hard to bury. A younger self in another country, a boy with big dreams and careful hands, the sound of a door closing for the last time. There is a note tucked behind the frame, in plain handwriting. It is short. It is everything. You bought more than you know. Use it well. No name. No promises. Just that. Iris looks up, heart pounding. Through the window, she catches a glimpse of a man on the sidewalk across the street. A cap pulled low. A coat too heavy for the mild weather, as if he is hiding, not from the cold, but from being recognized. He stands still for a moment, looking toward their building, his face a blur behind the reflection on the glass. Then he turns and melts into the flow of people. A bus passes. When it is gone, so is he. Was that? Iris starts. Hannah exhales long and uneven. I don't know, she says. It is the safest truth she can give. But she does know. In the way her body recognizes a person it once held. In the way her breath catches at the sight of a familiar posture, even from this distance, even after all these years. She sets the frame down, fingers lingering on the glass. What I do know, she says, turning to her daughter, is that you walked into a monster's den with $5 and no backup. Don't ever tell me you're weak again. Iris laughs, a sound that carries no apology, no doubt. I wasn't alone, she says. You were with me. In here. She taps her chest. Hannah pulls her into a hug that feels different from the one she gave when they were surviving. This one has room in it. For future. For possibility. For a little girl who learned that $5 could buy more than money. And a mother who learned that sometimes love means admitting you were wrong. On the wall, above their small second-hand couch, there is a blank space. They hang the frame there. Not as a trophy. As a reminder. When people come over, new friends, a neighbor's kid, a social worker checking on their new life, teachers wondering about Iris's fire and focus, they always ask the same question. What's with the $5? Iris smiles, that same sharp smile she gave to Min Jae-hyun on a rainy pier when she was 9 years old and believed that $5 could move a monster. Long story, she says. Maybe I'll tell you someday. And maybe she will. Maybe that is where your next episode begins.